June 1st. So the incorporation he did very early, just 1 month after starting. So there was not much propaganda. Prabhupada just he put a paper, he hand wrote classes on Bhagavad-Gita, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 p.m. and pasted it in the window of the shop. And that was it. So, not many people were coming. Nobody knew what that was. Just people passing by would see maybe 2 or 3 people in there. Didn't know what they were doing. It was a bare floor. The shop was very shabby, run down. Prabhupada just put a mat. He sat on the floor on a mat and chanted kirtan and gave class. So, and then the first thing he does is that actually, when he was on the Bowery before 26 2nd Avenue, Bowery was even a worse place. It's probably the worst place in New York. The most decrepit, rundown, dirty, filthy, crowded, and there were, you gonna come in? Or are you gonna sit there? So, and there were all these drunkards. At that time, there wasn't the drug culture. There was the alcohol culture. So everyone, mostly men, but some women also, would come there and just drink alcohol, the very cheap alcohol they could get. And there were these flop houses where they could stay at night, 25 cents it would cost. And they were, they would drink so much, and then after you drink, then you vomit and you urinate, and everything. The streets were covered with all this. This is where Prabhupada was staying. People would pass out on the sidewalk. And sometimes they would die. There would be dead corpses. But young people were living there because the rents were very cheap. You could get these very large, they call them lofts. These are actually built in the, I think in the 19th century. These were factories. They had factories there where they did sewing and cloth, and the immigrants would go to these factories. So they were very large spaces. Prabhupada was in one of them. Anyway, he shifted to 26 Second Avenue. So what is the significance of the incorporation? Why is it significant? The significance is not for what it was, but what it was going to become. Because Prabhupada actually, when he was in the Bowery, he met one musician and he asked him about incorporating a society, and the musician guy, his name was Carl Jurgens. He became initiated in the first initiation, Karlapati. And he had done some work with incorporating and legal work of copyright, some with music or something. Anyway, he knew a lawyer, so he told this lawyer about Prabhupada, and the lawyer was very interested to incorporate, to do the legal work for a religious society, non-profit, for this Indian Swami. But of course, you had to have Americans sign the papers, and you needed like a half a dozen of them. So Prabhupada had spoken, privately with him, and he drew up the papers. So one night in one of the evening classes, he brought the papers for signing. So who was going to sign? There were no devotees, no one. It just happened to show up. People would just happen to show up, out of curiosity or whatever. So there was one who was kind of regular from the Bowery days, Mukunda. His name was Michael Grant, and his wife, Jan, who became Janaki. So he happened to be there that night, and there were a couple others. I mean, they were just casual acquaintances. So Prabhupada asked, so I want everybody to sign these papers. What papers? What is this? And well, they said, well, if the Swami wants, he will do it. So they signed their name. They didn't know what they were signing. And they had no commitment. They weren't following the for the regulations or nothing. And they had absolutely no qualification. And these signers would be trustees. So why did Prabhupada do that? So Prabhupada was following the principle that you utilize whatever you have. You utilize that in Krishna consciousness. No matter how insignificant. The process of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada always said, is to fan the spark. You have a spark, and if you fan it, then it becomes fire. Or it may not. It may die out. That's the chance you take, but at least you try. That's what Prabhupada was doing. So at that point in time, there was nothing. Prabhupada sitting on a mat, on a bare floor. That was it. And yet last year I showed you how that this document for the Incorporation, how it was taken from the document that Prabhupada drew up in 1953 in Jhansi, where he had the League of Devotees. It's a very interesting term, League of Devotees. I don't know where that came from. But to me it was a brilliant use. There's an association or a society. In India they have when you register under the Societies Act. Prabhupada called it the League of Devotees. Anyway, Prabhupada made a big document, and I showed that document. And he must have brought a copy of that document with him, because he gave it to Hayagriva and asked Hayagriva to draw up the purposes of ISKCON in the Articles of Incorporation. So there are 7 purposes to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And you have to realize that what these purposes are, I mean, had absolutely no relation to what there was. What there was just Prabhupada sitting on a mat. But Prabhupada wasn't seeing what there was, but he was seeing what it would become. That's the brilliance. And nobody else had that vision. I mean, when I joined in August, a month later after the Incorporation. And then Prabhupada made me the president. But we were just doing our activities in the storefront, you know, there on the Lower East Side, to the counterculture youth, the alternative generation. I mean, we never even went above 14th Street. 14th Street was the demarcation. It's like 14th Street was the land of conformity. And below 14th Street was the land of non-conformity. And we were all non-conformists. Of course, we thought that, you know, Hare Krishna was the ultimate in non-conformity because it was so strange. You know, it was Indian, the dress, this, that, I mean, everything. I mean, Prabhupada was the ultimate non-conformist, walking in his robes with these white rubber shoes. Of course, what Prabhupada was teaching was the ultimate conformity. It wasn't non-conformity, it was conformity. There were rules and regulations. Everything scheduled. You know, everything very strictly. How you appeared, what you ate, how you dressed, what you read, what you know, everything. So it's kind of ironic that all the nonconformists joined the most conformist way of life. So the first one is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. So systematically propagate, you know, in July 1966, who was going to systematically propagate? I mean, even when we had the kirtans, that was only in the storefront. Nobody ever went outside. When Prabhupada went to Tompkins Square Park, took us there, that was big shock to have kirtan in public. And it, created, there was a big crowd and everybody was gathered around. But everybody, he just did his chanting with his eyes closed. We didn't even look at anybody. We didn't propagate. We didn't even know what we were doing or what this chanting was. How are we going to propagate? But Prabhupada knew that there would be systematic propagation. To propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. To bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. So, now I'll ask you a question. For you, what is the most important word in the Bhagavad-Gita? Yes?
Krishna.
Krishna? Where is that in Bhagavad-Gita? Huh? What shloka? Huh? No, he said Krishna. Which shloka? I said word. Not shloka. Word. Huh? No, a Sanskrit word. Huh? Buddhista Tishna? Huh? Oh. Okay, that's for Parvati. Okay. Of course, there are many Bhagavans. I know, but the word Bhagavan is not so distinctive because there are many. Okay. But bhakti, who? Bhakti between who? For bhakti there has to be a subject and an object. There has to be two. Huh? Mom? Well, mom could be, your mother could say mom. Yeah. No, the word, not a shloka. Yoga, there's so many yogas. Karma yoga, jnana yoga. Huh? I can't hear. Dharma. So many dharma. Huh? Chan?
Sanskrit word.
What did it say? Purushotam. Yeah. Well, you know, Sankaracharya, he says Purushotam. Purusha. You know, he says Purusha is spirit, means spirit. What do we say Purusha is? Huh? Person. Purusha means person in our translator. Sankaracharya says spirit. Well, it's kind of general. It's not specific. Anyway, for me, the most important word in Bhagavad-Gita is Amsa. You know this word Amsa? Yes. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Amsa. Part and parcel. What does parcel mean? Part of the part, a portion. See, when I was growing up, when I was adolescent, it's very common. You don't know who you are. You know, this is part of becoming an adult, to understand who you are. And I was very much afflicted by this. It was called identity crisis. And I went to college. I thought I could find out who I was by reading literature, all the world's literature. What's your name? Deva? What is it? Deva. After a long time. Huh? Please. Your wife is here? America. Where? Oh, Alaska. Yeah, I struggled so much in college, and when I went to Prabhupada the first time I met him, you know, I told him that I don't know who I am, and I tried to find out. I read everything, French literature, American literature, English literature. In fact, in all the literature, they also, the protagonist is usually, he's also searching for his identity. Nobody had any answer. Prabhupada immediately said, Amsa, you're part and parcel of Krishna. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. And he solved the problem right there. It was such a relief. Saved my life. See, this word Amsa, Sankaracharya doesn't know how to, he's stymied. How do you juggle that word? It's the key word to our philosophy. That our identity, we are part and parcel. Where's Bhagavad-Gita? Bring Bhagavad-Gita. You like to read? Who likes to read? Who wants to read? Maharaj, you want to read? 15:7. Of course, if he reads, then the radio people can't hear, isn't it? Oh, okay.
Abhaivan Sojiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manasastra Nindriyani, Prakritisthani Karsati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal.
Read the word for word.
Mama, my. Reva, certainly. Amsa, fragmental particle. Jiva Loke, in the world of conditional life. Jiva Bhuta, the conditioned living entity. Sanatana, eternal. Mana, with the mind. Sastani, the six. Indriyani, senses. Prakriti, in material nature. Sthani, situated. Karshati is struggling hard. Translation, that's like Prabhupada. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. What?
Oh yeah.
In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The
Try.
In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, eternally. It is not that he assumes individuality in this conditional life and in his liberated state becomes one with the Supreme Lord. He is eternally fragmented. It is clearly said, Sanatana. According to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in innumerable expansions, of which the primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattva, and the secondary expansions are called the living entities. In other words, the Vishnu Tattva is the personal expansion, and the living entities are the separated expansions. By his personal expansion, he is manifested in various forms like Lord Ram, Nrsimhadev, Vishnu Murti, and all the predominating deities in the Vaikuntha planet. The separated expansions, the living entities, are eternally servitors. The personal expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the individual entities, the individual identities of the Godhead are always present. Similarly, the separated expansions of living entities have their identities. As fragmented parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the living entities also have fragmental portions of his qualities, of which independence is one. Every living entity, as an individual soul, has his personal individuality and a minute form of independence. The misuse of that independence, by misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul. And by proper use of independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal, as the Supreme Lord is. In his liberated state, he is freed from this material condition, and he is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. In his conditioned state, in his conditioned life, he is dominated by the material modes of nature, and he forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. The living entities, not only human beings and the cats and dogs, but even the greater controllers of the material world, Brahma, or Shiva, and even Vishnu, are all parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. They are all eternal, not temporary manifestations. The word kashati, struggling or grappling hard, is very significant. The conditioned soul is bound up as though shackled by iron chains. He is bound up by the false ego, and the mind is the chief agent which is driving him in this material existence. When the mind is in the mode of goodness, his activities are good. When the mind is in a mode of passion, his activities are troublesome. And when the mind is in the mode of ignorance, he travels in the lower species of life. It is clear, however, in this verse, that the conditioned soul is covered by the material body, with the mind and the senses, and when it is liberated, this material covering perishes, but his spiritual body manifests itself in each individual capacity. The following information is there in the Madhyan Dina Yana Shruti. Sava Esa Brahma Nishta Idam Sariram Maratyam Asti Shrijya Brahma Bisham Padya Brahmana Pashyati Brahmana Shrinoti Brahmana Ivedam Sarvam Anubhavati. It is stated here that when a living entity gives up this material embodiment and enters into the spiritual world, he revises in the spiritual body, and in the spiritual body he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He can hear and speak to him face to face, and he can understand the Supreme Personality as he is. From Smriti also it is understood Pasanti Jatra Purusha Sarve by Kunta Murtaya. In the spiritual planet, everyone lives in bodies featured like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as bodily construction is concerned, there is no difference between the part and parcel living entities and the expansions of Vishnu Murti. In other words, at liberation, the living entity gets a spiritual body by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words Namai Vamsa, fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also very significant. The fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord is not like some material broken parts. We have already understood in the second chapter that the spirit cannot be cut into pieces. This fragment is not materially conceived. It is not like matter, which can be cut into pieces and joined together again. That conception is not applicable here, because the Sanskrit word Sanatana, eternal, is used. The fragmental portion is eternal. It is also stated in the beginning of the second chapter that in each and every individual body, the fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord is present. Dehinosmi, Yatha Dehe, That fragmental portion, when liberated from the bodily entanglement, revives its original spiritual body in the spiritual sky, in the spiritual planet, and enjoys association with the Supreme Lord. It is, however, understood here that the living entity, being the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is qualitatively one with the Lord, just as the parts and parcels of gold are also gold.
So, the Mayavadis are right. It's all one. We agree. They say we're all one. It's all one. We're one with God. I'm God, you're God, we're all God. There's the, we're one qualitatively, but not quantitatively. You know, if I give you a gold ring, you say, oh, this is very nice. Then you want a gold bracelet. Then you want a gold watch. Then you want gold chain, gold earrings. Then you want gold coins. You want gold bricks. You know, no matter how much gold, you'll always want more. But if you have the gold mine, then you have everything. Then you'll be satisfied. You'll have all the gold. So we're just pieces of God. Small, small, small. I'm trying to remember. Prabhupada once told me something. I can't remember. So this is the difference. So it was a relief when Prabhupada told me that I was God, but part of God. I mean, what could be more inspiring to know that you're part of God? Then you have self-respect, then you have knowledge. And then there's nothing longer to suffer, no more suffering. You know, interesting, this word parcel, part and parcel. I think it was Achyutananda Swami, when he went to South India, he went to Udupi, you know, the Madhvites are there, Madhvacharya. You know, we're in the disciplic succession, we're Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. Madhva's our guru. So he was preaching to the Madhva, you know, they were very happy. that Madhva was being propagated, in the West. So they asked him to write an article for their journal. So he wrote an article, and in that article, he presenting our philosophy. So he said part and parcel. He mentioned part. And the Madhva, Madhva, he's always shown with 2 fingers. Why 2 fingers? Huh? Why 2? Yes. There's always separation between Krishna and Jiva. Huge separation. Eternal. So part and parcel, there's no separation. If you're part of God, you're not separated. So they rejected his article that this part and parcel we cannot accept. So our philosophy is not Madhva, but Madhva was, countering the Buddhist and the Sankaracharya. So, but part and parcel is our most important words. Everyone can get inspired to think I'm a part and parcel. I'm nothing, I'm not nothing, I'm something. So Prabhupada has said that develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead. Perfectly stated. Then, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we didn't, in 1960, we didn't know the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. To erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. So that could be all the temples Prabhupada established. He made them into tirthas. This temple here in Vrindavan.
Why not of them?
Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Goswami, he went out, he used to go out in the morning and chant his rounds at the Krishna Balaram tree. Prabhupada was calling him and nobody could find him. Prabhupada was not happy. And finally he came. Where were you? I was out chanting my round at the Krishna Balaram. Prabhupada said, You don't know, but the entire spiritual world is within this compound. That's what Prabhupada established. All the pastimes are going on. To bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. With a view toward achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. Of course, at this time there were no books. There were no magazines. I mean, there was nothing. But Prabhupada saw it. This is going to happen. As if someone told him that all this is going to happen. Someone very big, very powerful. And Prabhupada had complete confidence. You know, and I said, when I joined the international society, what is international? We were just there on 2nd Avenue. Where's the international? I never understood. But Prabhupada very quickly made it international. So, any questions?